With the 19th pick of the 2020 MLB Draft, the New York Mets select Pete Crow Armstrong, an outfielder from Harvard Westlake High School, North Hollywood, California. The Milwaukee Brewers have the next pick.
This kid's a fire plug, man. Another top pick out of Harvard Westlake High School in California. He joins the likes of Jack Flaherty, Lucas Giolito, but this kid, he's not a pitcher. Pete Crow Armstrong, he's been on the scouts' radar for a while, and he's been standing in our MLB draft spotlight.
What's up? I'm Pete Crow Armstrong. Now it's my time to shine.
Who do you model your game after?
I have two of them right off the bat, and it's Javi Baez and Ronald Acuna. I just think they're probably two of the most fun players to watch in the game.
You want to talk about one of those let the kids play moments?
I think people just enjoy to watch people have fun.
He is fired up.
That's what I love so much about the game, is that it gives any person of any age the opportunity to just let loose. I get to be myself on the field, and I think it's pretty cool.
His emotion just comes through when he plays. How about when he finds out he's been drafted? Okay. A little subdued. He's emotional. Pete Crow Armstrong, drafted 19th overall by the New York Mets. It's the third straight year that the Mets have taken a high school position player with their first pick in the draft. His family and friends so happy. And this kid, he's got the moxie for it, man. He does. And one thing we haven't talked a lot about is outfield defense. But he's been regarded, and you know more about it than I do, as one of the better defenders in the outfield in this draft class.
Yeah, best defensive center fielder in this draft class. I mean, he just doesn't play defense well in center field. He plays it exceptionally well. You see guys that can go back on balls and more lateral. This guy goes to the gaps as well as anybody. He's instinctive. He's moving before the ball is hit. His defense is game-changing. He's got really good bat-to-ball skills, a little bit of a drifter that he'll have to clean up in pro ball. I'm sure he'll do that because he does find the barrel. I mean, this guy is a guy that can control center field for years in Citi Field.
Offensively, I've seen comps to Brett Gardner. Is that fair?
Yeah, I dropped a Darren Erstad on him for me.
Okay.
He had some similarities for me for Darren Erstad.
All right, now he's a Vandy commit, so I got to ask Tim Corbin what he thinks of Armstrong. The glove is really that special?
Yeah, it is. I mean, there's no doubt about that. Dan alluded to it, but Jack Leggett, who I used to work with, he said this guy could play center field in the big leagues right now, and I did a little bit of breakdown on him. Two particular catches right here, one to the glove side and the backhand side, and this takes timing and athleticism, but the way the game's being played right now, ball in the air, the value of this type of player is important. We have a comp right here of Kiermaier. Sam Wild turned him around, so you got a comp right there. You're going to go back to the other side right here. These are defensive RBIs or RTAs, runs taken away, and that has value. This kid has the ability to do that type of, or has that type of skill to play defensively. And offensively, too, he can swing the bat. He's more of a slasher, but I think once he grows into his body and gains strength, you're going to see a lot of production that way, too.
Pete Crow Armstrong, I love the breakdown. Flipping Kevin Kiermaier to a lefty.
That's beautiful.
Tim has been nailing his breakdowns tonight.
Got a big league name, though, man. Come on.
It does.
Pete Crow Armstrong, I mean, that fits in New York.
I tell you what, he's a great kid, too. He's a great teammate. He's a really intelligent kid. He's really a very interesting package.
Mm-hmm. And the comparison game to Erstad is compelling because Erstad had some monster offensive years.
He did.
Yeah. Okay. Well, that's why the kid was just selected 19th overall.
With the 52nd pick of the 2020 MLB Draft, the New York Mets select right-handed pitcher J.T. Ginn from Mississippi State University. The Milwaukee Brewers had the next pick.
6'2", 200 pounds, talented sophomore arm out of Mississippi State. He turned heads when he joined Rafael Palmeiro last year as the only Bulldogs to win National Freshman of the Year honors. Capping the season off with 6 scoreless against Louisville in the College World Series. He was a potential top 15 pick in many eyes earlier this spring. Made just one start before undergoing Tommy John surgery in March. So Jim Callis, that surgery kind of slid him back down, and here he is at number 52 to the Mets.
Yeah, definitely. And, you know, the interesting thing, Greg, is I was wondering a little bit about how signable he might be. He's a draft-eligible sophomore. He turned down money out of high school as a first-round pick of the Dodgers. He has Tommy John. He's not going to pitch until next spring. It's great stuff, 91-97, wipeout slider. I think he's lessened some of the starter versus reliever concerns since he's been in Mississippi State. And I think we got our answer as to whether he's going to be signable, because I don't think you get picked in a 5-round draft if the team isn't pretty confident they're going to sign you. And for the Mets, we heard a lot of college right-handers with him in the first round. They wound up going Pete Crow Armstrong, and they're getting a really power-armed college right-hander here in JT Ginn.
Exceptional upside. I mean, he's a guy who had pedigree going back to his high school days. As Jim said, he was a guy who was drafted in the first round and turned down the money. I just really like the fastball, the life on the fastball. It's a bowling ball kind of pitch that gets a ton of outs that way. And he's a guy who proved he could start in his freshman year. I think the strike throwing has come a long way. Some scouts would put plus command on him, but it's a really powerful 2-pitch mix. And I think you got plenty of upside. We didn't really ding him too much for the surgery, and he was kind of a top 10 guy entering the year for us. That's the kind of talent we're talking about.
I'm talking about a lot of talent for the Mets. Pete Crow Armstrong was one of my favorite young outfielders. They took him in day one, and now here you have JT Ginn. I don't know where you stand on drafting injured players, but this kid, when he was right, was electric.
He was. I mean, I still see a reliever. I don't see a starting pitcher. I see a ton of effort, inability to really duplicate his delivery. His extension's not out front. It's more up by his waist. You know, the development of a third pitch. I mean, he's a really talented kid. I would have really liked to see this year play out a little bit just to see the sustainability of the delivery. But again, you're adding a power arm guy that's certainly has performed in a short period of time.
Yeah, and he's younger. He's just a sophomore, has a chance to go back to Mississippi State if he wants.
With the 69th pick of the 2020 MLB Draft, the New York Mets select Isiah Green, an outfielder from Corona Senior High School, Corona, California. The St. Louis Cardinals had the next pick.
This kid had a mediocre junior year at Corona High School, but broke out playing against USA Baseball's 18 and under team last summer. He outplayed most of Team USA. Got off to a slow start again this spring, but his tools still drew positive reviews from scouts. Contact-oriented approach, plus runner. Scouts think he should stick in center field. A lot of comparisons floating out there. Harold Reynolds is still with us in Studio 42. What do you think of the Michael Brantley comp to this kid?
Well, he's got one of the best arms out there, but I see a little bit of Michael Brantley or even Garrett Anderson. That's kind of the two I looked at when I watched him work out and consistently swing the bat. And look, Greg, the 69th pick for the Mets, I mean, 69 Mets, you can't get any better than that. I'm just throwing that in there.
Okay.
I like this kid. I really think the power is going to develop with him. And as you see with high school players, I've talked about this earlier, and I know Dan talked about it yesterday, the physical change of their bodies from 17 to 18, how they grow. And they're growing from boys to men, and that's going to continue for another couple of years. So I think the upside potential for power from this guy is there, but it's sweet, sweet swing.
He is committed to the University of Missouri. He was pumped out a lot of big leaguers. Jonathan Mayo, we're here almost to round 3. Do you start thinking signability with players like this?
No, I don't think so. I think we're at a point where players are going to sign. I think through all 5 rounds, we're not going to see too many difficulties. I think the big question that the Mets have to face now is who's going to play center field in the future? Is it Isiah Green or is it Pete Crow Armstrong? I mean, that's it's a pretty good combination of outfielders. Maybe you move Green over to left and Pete Crow's in center, and a ball never falls between them. But I think Harold nailed it with Green. It's a really good contact-oriented approach at the plate, kind of a flat swing, and I think once he tweaks that a little bit and grows into his body more, there is going to be power. So he has a chance to be a really exciting toolsy player.
With the 91st pick of the 2020 MLB Draft, the New York Mets select shortstop Anthony Walters from San Diego State University. The Milwaukee Brewers have the next pick.
Another player that's not in Baseball America's top 500, 6'1", 185 pounds, a redshirt junior, a shortstop Anthony Walters joining this draft class. Pete Crow Armstrong, he's the headline attraction. JT Ginn, big arm. Isiah Green, projectable outfielder. And now Anthony Walters. Jonathan Mayo, what do you think of this pick?
Yeah, it seems to me that's probably a bit of a money saver. As a redshirt junior, actually began his college career at Cal, then went to junior college, missed 2019 with a torn ACL, back this year, starting at shortstop. Probably profiles as a utility infielder when all is said and done. He's got really good hands, can defend at a number of positions. But I think more than anything else, the Mets are kind of manipulating their bonus pool here to be able to afford all their other picks, or maybe saving it for someone they've got their eye on before this thing wraps up?
They've been taking defensive stars so far in this draft class. But the bat, as you look into the numbers here, OPS below 600 in his college career. That's 50 career games, and a 228 average with 1 home run. We're looking for track record. Not a lot of it here from the college ranks.
Well, obviously they saw a flash, a trigger of something. Not a long flash, just a short flash of something. They had to, Greg, to take him in this area. And you know what? You're going to have confusing picks in the draft because, again, as I said last night, everybody looks at the game from a different prism, which allows you to arrive at a different result because of that. And so, obviously, they think this kid, his athleticism or his potential to hit or the fact that his injury slowed him down, they feel good at him because this is a third round.
That's a pretty high pick.
Yeah, at the very least, you want a contributor in this round. You'd like to get impact, but you need to get a contributor.
With the 120th pick of the 2020 MLB Draft, the New York Mets select catcher Matthew Dyer from the University of Arizona. The Milwaukee Brewers have the next pick.
Tall catcher, 6'4", 187 pounds, utility player at Arizona. They play catcher, corner outfielder, second base, and third base. Maybe some versatility there. Added weight this offseason. He was lanky, now he's closer to 200 pounds. Started the 2020 season slowly. Hit 220 after hitting 393 last year. All of last year, he hit 393. So a small sample size can help certain guys, Carlos Collazo of Baseball America. Did it hurt Matthew Dyer?
Yeah, it could have hurt him a little bit. He's still getting picked here, so that's good for him. And I think it's interesting they drafted him as a catcher because if Austin Wells wasn't his teammate, he probably would have got a lot more time at the position to kind of show what he could do there. He has been a Swiss Army knife kind of player for his college team, though, playing all over the place, as you mentioned. I think he's got a good arm. I don't know if he has the power to profile at a corner position if he does have to play outfield or if he does have to play third base. But if he can stick at catcher, there's a lot lower bar for his offensive production. So it'll be interesting to see.
Yeah, maybe he doesn't stick anywhere, Jonathan Mayo. What do you think? I mean, there are players now that the teams are looking for. It's hard to draft a player like that in the 4th round, but it's an in vogue idea.
Yeah, I think he does kind of fit that super utility role. I don't know if catcher will be a part of it. He runs really, really well. He's played some center field. Even the arm works from the outfield as it does behind the plate. Kind of an interesting guy. Yeah, he got off to that slow start this year. Circuitous already started at Oregon, sat out a year when he transferred to Arizona, didn't get drafted last year when he could have. So it's not been a direct path. But there are some tools here, that speed and the arm strength and a little bit of hitability makes him intriguing, even if he is the kind of guy who does ultimately move all around the diamond once he gets to the big leagues.
This draft class is intriguing. Pete Crow Armstrong was the headliner, the high school outfielder. Then JT Ginn, Isiah Green, another outfielder. Anthony Walters was off the board, not in the Baseball America Top 500. And now this pick, Matthew Dyer, a catcher by the Mets.
With the 150th pick of the 2020 MLB Draft, the New York Mets select Eric Orrs, a right-handed pitcher from the University of New Orleans. The Milwaukee Brewers have the next pick.
This guy missed all of 2019 and made just four college starts, 36 innings. So the Mets clearly see something that they believe is worth taking a gamble, and they make this pick on a right-hander at pick number 150. Carlos Collazo, what do you think what the Mets just did?
Well, I think Orrs is a pretty special person and player. He's already beaten cancer twice, which is just amazing. But he has a pretty impressive fastball, 92, 95. He's got a splitter that's solid average or above, and he also has a solid slider. So there's not a ton of track record here, but he did perform pretty well this spring. The strikeout to walk rate is impressive. And those pitches that I just mentioned aren't bad at all. So it's a pretty interesting pick.
Wow. Beaten cancer twice, unable to perform like most pitchers. So the track record isn't there, but this is how the Mets wrap things up. 2 pitchers in this draft class, Stan O'Dowd, 4 position players. It started with Pete Crow Armstrong. What do you make of what the Mets did in 2020?
Again, I think it comes down to Ginn and Green. They signed both of those guys. I think overall it's a very impressive draft class because Pete's a big league center fielder.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, he's a terrific defender. Some believe he's the best outfielder, best defensive player of all positions in this draft class.